energy here is infectious. I'm sure you can see and hear there are hundreds of people here from all over the world. And it's a lot quieter here than it was earlier this afternoon, but we're still seeing people coming over to take pictures with this iconic finish line. This is just one example of what we're seeing all around town. Hillsborough County Meals on Wheels is in dire need of volunteer drivers. Last year, they delivered more than 380,000 meals to people in the area, and this year, it could be even higher. Well, Jonathan, it was absolutely electric in here. This was the third game of a 4-game homestand for the Bruins. Yesterday, Jim Montgomery said this matchup was a good test heading into the playoffs, and safe to say the Bruins passed. But I want you to take a look here at Brown Ave, right next to the Hampton Police and Fire stations. I mean, this water is deep. William Kelly was indicted on 2 counts of second-degree murder, one for allegedly killing 33-year-old Christine Falzone, and another for allegedly killing her unborn child. One of those women shot this video on her phone showing the moments that Dustin Duran was placed in handcuffs. Less than 2 days until the 128th Boston Marathon, and Boylston Street is already buzzing. This morning, thousands got a taste of crossing the finish line in a handful of Saturday morning races, including middle schoolers, milers, and Red Sox managers.
This city means so much for us, and the vibe, sometimes we take it for granted, you know.
But the fun didn't stop there. Runners and their loved ones flocked to the finish line all day to take photos and soak it all in. We spoke with newcomers like Alex Bott from Michigan, running her first Boston Marathon in memory of her father.
My dad ran it when I was a little girl, and I was inspired by him early on. So ever since then, it's always been a dream of mine to come and run this race.
And Sam Cody from Hopkinton, Mass, who says it's their first time running, but they're no stranger to the course.
It starts right near my house, really close to the starting line, so I've grown up around the marathon.
We also ran into some marathon vets. 30-year-old Corey Campbell from Windham is running his 9th Boston Marathon this year. Campbell says he was inspired to start training after witnessing the Boston Marathon bombing in 2013.
I'm running for my family. I was here during the bombing. It's super important and powerful for me to be here. I was just a spectator, but I've run every year that I could since.
Joan Benoit Samuelson is a running legend, the first woman to win an Olympic gold medal in the marathon, and 2-time Boston Marathon champion, shared some wisdom on Boylston Street. Her advice to Granite Staters:
live free or die. Not really. Just trust yourself, have faith in your training, and enjoy the journey here from Hopkinton to Boston.
It's keeping me alive, and I'm not going into a nursing home. And I have comfort in my home. I mean, I'm making an Afghan.
Marguerite Roberts has been getting Meals on Wheels delivery every day since she had a stroke last year. Not only does volunteer Larry Dutton bring her food.
I have your menu for April.
I get one of those.
Okay, April showers bring May flowers.
Of course.
What do May flowers bring?
June bugs.
Pilgrims.
He also brings her friendship.
It makes my day, especially when the sun isn't shining and it's kind of gloomy out because I get depression real bad. And him with his corny jokes and everything else.
Zach Payon with Hillsborough County Meals on Wheels says more than half of those surveyed last year said their conversations with those delivery drivers are their only interactions that week.
We have such a responsibility to so many people that depend on us for nutrition and social connection, and we are in the midst of honestly a social isolation crisis.
As Meals on Wheels demand continues to rise, so does their need for volunteers.
It's really becoming quite unprecedented.
Rebecca Skye, executive director of the State Commission on Aging, says it's estimated that in the next 6 years, 1/3 of New Hampshire's population will be over the age of 65.
We do need to rethink about how we do aging services, from how they're organized and delivered to how they're financed.
He stabbed Christine 8 times in the neck and chest. He stabbed Jenna 43 times.
The murders were disorganized and emotional, according to prosecutors, who allege Timothy Verrill beat and stabbed Christine Sullivan and Jenna Pellegrini to death, believing Pellegrini was a police informant.
He wrapped the bodies in various tarps and other coverings, and he discarded them like trash underneath the porch.
The state showed the jury pictures and surveillance video from that Farmington home where Verrill's DNA was found on various objects, including ice melt he allegedly used to try to hide the bloodstains.
The defendant is the only one who cleaned up the scene, the only one who fled from the police, and the only one who killed.
The defense called the state's investigation sloppy and incomplete and said there was other evidence and DNA found at the scene, including someone else's blood.
The state's lead investigator failed to turn over a significant amount of evidence until the middle of trial. The bottom line is that a lack of professionalism raises a lack of confidence in the decisions and results of this investigation.
The defense said the state ignored other leads and suspects and are pointing fingers at the wrong man.
Consider the other players you will learn about in this case. Their suspicious behavior that they can't account for.